O'clock, and it's Friday. We are deep into the season of the coming of Christmas, of Advent. I'm Pastor Lou Kilgore, I'm pastor here at the High Mountain Presbyterian Church. I'm glad to be here with you today, whether it's 2 o'clock where you are or whether you tune in later, as many of you do. So I'm making our reunion here, our checking in time. Here's your chair. I wish you could be sitting in it to have a two-way conversation, but we make the best of it we can. We do one way, and then you listen, and you send me emails, and we talk, and I really enjoy it. I'm so grateful for the connection that exists, even through this feeble process. I was reminded when I was thinking about doing this again today, when I was in high school, both of my brothers, I had twin brothers. Yawn came a little early. I had twin brothers who are my oldest brothers, and they were both in Vietnam. They served in the Air Force, and then they enlisted in the Air Force, and then went on to be called up to go to Vietnam. And I was thinking about how our family figured out incredible ways using the technology at hand to communicate. Neither one of them were really writers. They didn't write letters, and writing letters back and forth to Vietnam was an iffy proposition anyway. But what they did do was, I don't know if you remember them, but there were these little reel-to-reel tape recorders. They were actually little reels. And they would, in their barracks, the two of them would sit around the barracks and they would talk into the recorders and tell us what had been going on. And we would sit around at home. Then when they arrived, we would sit around at home. Ooh. Excuse me. And we would listen. It feels like that somehow. That was a one-way conversation too. With no ability to immediately respond to what we were being told and what we were listening to, and wondering, what it was like really from the sounds we heard. We didn't see video, we just heard sounds and they're talking, and wondered what it was really like. So I often sit and wonder what it's really like for you, where you are, how you are. That's why I ask you, how are you today? Our journey to Bethlehem has gotten more interesting. I don't really know. I was reading a meditation that someone sent me about the journey and in particular the lessons we can learn from Joseph. And I found it interesting. I mean, the person wasn't trying to be overly simplistic, but they were talking about how, the journey to Bethlehem would have been through the cold. It might have also been through the snow. And it may have been, I don't know, but the writers didn't give us that thought. The writers of Luke and of Matthew gave us the idea that the journey to Bethlehem took place in the summer and leading up to the heart of the summer, when the shepherds would stay out overnight and they would watch the flocks there. They would sleep. Sometimes they would build a sheepfold to protect them from wild animals, but the sheep didn't have to journey a long way to get to the green pastures because they were right there. So I don't know that Joseph and Mary struggled through the cold. It works into how I think about Advent because, of course, with the snow yesterday, and then I didn't come to chat with you yesterday, I was wrapped up in trying to cope with issues related to snow and cold, and then also the school and all these other things. So I apologize for not being here yesterday. But finally, I think we've got things taken care of. And it feels like Christmas. It feels like the Christmas season. There's snow on the ground, and there's a chill in the air. And so many of the Christmas songs and carols have that as a part of the way we think about Christmas. Christmas is Advent, as I've been talking about this, Advent it's a journey. It's a journey in remembrance of Joseph and Mary to correct Christmas. And it's also in remembrance of the journey in the wilderness and even after the promised land. Having traveled as far as they did, one generation to the next, and now in the promised land, the continuation of wars and conquests or conflicts with neighbors did not lead to 1,000 years of peaceful living. It didn't at all. Their living was tumultuously interrupted by invasion of hostile people, and they had to move to a different way of coping. The militias to defend themselves didn't work anymore, and then they developed a dynasty, and they were kings, and a few kings, and bad experiences with kings. And then finally, huge conquests, being conquered by and hauled off by other nations to parts unknown of the world. And so Advent, the voice of Advent, especially in things like Handel's Messiah, the passages of Scripture that are lifted up come right out of the history of Israel in a time of desperation, of isolation, of real despair. Where are you, God? What do we do to wake you up to what our experience is? In the New Testament readings for Advent, we hear Jesus quoted a lot saying, "Keep awake then, and watch, for you do not know the hour of God's arrival and coming for great events that God is going to do in your life." But there's also significant passages in Isaiah and throughout the Psalms where the prophets and the teachers are trying to wake God up. They're saying, "God, wake up, look at how we are suffering. You have to come, you have to tear open the heavens and come down here and bring your justice and your fairness down to the earth. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, God?" These are some of the big questions that are asked. Gotta shut my phone off. I didn't do that before So Advent, the scriptures in Advent are filled with some of the ethos of that troubled waiting, the troubling times, and the cry out for God to come and do something new, do something different than what has been done along the way, because we're suffering here. And I think that I don't know. So here's the jump to today for me. I'm so thrilled that the good news of the vaccines are upon us. But I am really, really still worried for how many people are going to become sick, especially now. Of all times. At this time of all times. It's startling to me. So I feel like joining in this Advent season. I want to join in with that voice of the prophets of old, of Isaiah and of the other prophets, and they cry out to God and to say, "Come on, come on. You need to deliver now. You need to deliver. You need to come and help us in the circumstance that we're in." And I'm not talking about me. I don't feel that level of desperation, not yet. I worry about what's to come. I worry about what the spring will be like. I worry a little bit about what there will be of church, how church will go forward, but that's just an occupational worry. I'm not in a line for food today. I'm not. And many people are. I have work. I have a place to live. I'm not being evicted today. And I was listening to NPR this morning, the stories about people who are getting evicted. And they can't pay their rent because their job has been discontinued. This is This is not like the problems of poverty that we face ordinarily. Where someone can't hold a job or they can't get a job. These are people who have been working all of their lives and their jobs have gone. God, are you listening? Are you paying attention? Oh, that you would tear the heavens open and come down here and deliver us and help us in the circumstances in which so many humans on the planet right now are struggling. Now, my prayer along the way in this is that we will be that the best of who we are as people will come bursting through. And that in this hour of need, that people will be overly generous, that they will open their hearts and their minds and their purses, and they will take from those who have more than they need, will take from what they have and be a blessing to the rest of the families of the earth. There's one lesson about wealth in the scriptures is that one of the reasons that God gives wealth to people more than they need is so they can have the privilege of giving it away. So God's given it because the real blessing of extra wealth, the real blessing of it, is the ability to be a blessing to someone else. That's the light that shines from our human experience in these times of struggle. So in the journey in Advent, we're listening to the ancient cry too. But the darkness is real. And darkness is a metaphor just for everything that's difficult. Darkness is not necessarily bad. I thank God for the darkness. When the darkness comes, it's an encouragement to sleep more. It's an encouragement to rest. It encourages us to take time out. But the darkness is a metaphor for what's difficult, for what's really hard. And there are some very, very difficult things happening in the human community today. Today, it's real. I thank God for science and technology and for learning and for the way we've been able to apply the learning to improve our lives, but nothing changes our mortality, our vulnerability. I've often said that as God was designing all of the animals, it seems to me God gave to every creature a system of defending themselves. Now that's an oversimplification, but the turtle has his shell, the bear has his teeth and his claws. There's all kinds of protection that's built into the plan of nature. Human beings, what is our protection? Our protection is our minds. We use our minds. Yeah, we build weapons. Well, they don't always end up being that helpful to us because they cause a lot of problems as well. But we defend ourselves in the world of diseases and viruses through our scientists, through what we learn, through patterns of discipline, so that we can understand how life works and therefore protect ourselves. This is Advent. It's all laid on the table. It's all put out there on the table so that our faith doesn't become a fantasy. It's not a fantasy. Our faith invites us to see the world as it actually is, to take it in the way it is. And in the moments that might, in some circumstances, might generate despair in us, instead, the opportunity is there for God to shine the light of faith in our lives so that the contrast between our faith and our trust in God and the darkness around us will be stark. It's Advent. We take ourselves back. We walk through that journey with Mary and Joseph. One of the lessons, which I kind of I liked and I laughed a little bit about it, was that one of the lessons that you can learn from Joseph in the Christmas story is the importance of saying nothing. Because Joseph is never quoted, not once. Well, when the angel appears to him, Joseph says, that he is willing to go along. But you never hear Joseph quoted, nothing. He doesn't say a word. So one of the lessons that we can learn sometimes is the importance of just being quiet. So it seems like the season is approaching really fast. Christmas will be gone before we know it, and it'll be a Christmas like no other, really, for us. We will not see our kids. I will not see my grandson. We will be in our house, and then we will use technology to try to Zoom, and we've sent some presents to houses. I want to continue to invite you, and if my invitation falls on your ears and you say, but Pastor, you don't understand, I can't do what you're asking, just know that I'm willing to try to make a way. We're trying to do this collage of Silent Night on Christmas Eve. And in that collage, we're trying to record and have church members holding candles and singing Silent Night and recording it and then sending it to us. If you can do it at home, that's good. I'll send you a sing-along track. You can sing along to the music and then send me the video from a phone. Or if you're mobile enough, I could protect you. It's isolated. We set up a little recording booth right here inside the front doors of the church, and you can come in. I had a mom and 2 kids came in today and sang. One very elderly person came in this morning and sang. I know it's intimidating. It's really intimidating, but no one will listen but you. And in the end, it will be a beautiful collage of us singing together. And the beauty of it will be seeing you and seeing us. So if there's any way that you can participate in that, please do. Even if you just if you have a phone that has a video camera on it, just turn it around and videotape yourself, even if you don't have the soundtrack. Just start singing Silent Night and hold a candle and send it. And we'll figure out a way to use that in our collage of this Christmas Eve event. Well, my friends, it's been a wild week. It has been a wild year. And we're moving slowly, steadily toward the marks of our faith. On December the 21st, I'll be guiding a little guided meditation here on the longest night. It won't be what we've done before, but there'll be some music, and I'll be reading some poetry and things to perhaps encourage you if this is a very difficult time for you. And for many, it really is. And so we're trying to acknowledge that and maybe shine a little bit of light in the middle of the sadness. And all in all, bringing it all with us, presenting it, as it were, to the child in the manger, saying, here we are, God. This is who we are. Thank you for listening in today and for joining with me in this journey through Advent. I'll be back on Monday, and I hope to see you here then. Worship service on Sunday is at 10:30, and I hope to see you there. God bless you.